All right, let's talk about JD Vance now in a more serious manner. We earlier talked about the Trump aspect of his succession plan. The conventional wisdom has been Vance is the future, Trump picked him, he's the VP, heir apparent, etc. And I already told you earlier that is no longer the end of the discussion. I want to dig in more detail to some of this right now. I am seeing signs that some of the people who matter most in Republican politics are increasingly uneasy with the idea that JD Vance is the next leader of the movement. And I want to talk about what is it about Vance that is a concern to many of these Republican insiders, other than simply it doesn't seem Trump respects him. What is it about Vance that's a problem? I think it's very straightforward. Trump has something. I don't like the guy, but I've got to admit it, that not a lot of politicians necessarily have. You might love Trump, you might hate Trump. He dominates the room. He dominates the news cycle. He dominates attention. You can build a media career around simply following Trump around and reporting how great everything he's doing is, and even to some degree by saying how terrible everything that he's doing is. He has a form of charisma that I don't respect. I've talked about it. It's a scapegoating and insults and this sort of stuff. But he has a form of charisma that some people like and react to. Vance doesn't have anything close to that. Vance speaks and you hear not just a politician, but you hear like kind of just a pathetic, squirrely little guy. When Trump speaks, you go, this is the main character. But what this guy is doing and saying is the story. And how everyone in the room even reacts to Trump is the opposite of how people react to JD Vance. I believe at this point, so we've kind of built this up today. We talked about the chaos within MAGA. We talked about the difficulty for Fox News around figuring out who's next. I think Republican donors and activists and elected officials are really seeing the very important differences between Trump and Vance. They know that eventually they are going to need someone that can hold the coalition together. And it is a coalition that somehow Trump has held together, mostly through force of personality. JD doesn't have that personality. As soon as you say the heir to Trump must have a dominant personality to hold the movement together, and then you look at JD Vance, Vance doesn't have that. And if you just look at the last few months even, he has been put in these more visible positions, major media responsibilities, policy responsibilities, foreign policy now with Iran. And he doesn't come out of this stuff looking like a leader. He looks like someone who is really struggling to get anybody to pay attention to him, to get anybody to like him, and to even get a single success. I want to go back to Iran briefly. Trump put Vance at the center of the Iran issue with huge downside risk, common for vice presidents. If it works out, Trump gets headlines. If it goes badly, Vance is associated with failure, and it basically ends his chances in 2028. And the result is the talk of JD Vance has gone way up. The amount of presence that Vance has in the media is hugely bigger than it was 6 months ago. Part of it is because of his book tour. Part of it is because of the Iran negotiations. But it's increasing attention on Vance without increasing confidence in Vance. Now, I'll briefly mention Marco Rubio, and I know we talked about this earlier. Rubio's profile has been rising, not as much, but it's rising in a much more positive way. Rubio understands how to operate within government. Rubio understands diplomacy. He seems more comfortable. He's comfortable in high-level diplomatic settings. He can deal with foreign leaders. Foreign leaders respect Rubio a little more than they respect Vance. And Vance is terrible at dealing with the press, whereas Rubio is sort of like, okay, he is deceptive, no doubt about it, but we're doing an analysis that is sort of the internal logic of this. And I believe that this is the bigger problem for Vance, which is it's not a Republican field that is standing still, just waiting. And then JD Vance has years to try to make himself look as good as possible. Everybody's being evaluated. Donors are making calculations. Conservative media is making calculations. The party operatives are thinking, what do we want to do now? And it all revolves around one question. Does JD Vance have the personality, the confidence, the charisma, and the gravitas to lead the MAGA movement after Trump is gone? I think it's obviously a no. Being Trump's successor requires so many traits that Vance completely lacks. And Vance struggles even to command attention. And he becomes the story only in negative ways. And there's growing evidence that a lot of the most influential Republicans just don't think that he can do it. So I don't think we'll see like an open rebellion against JD Vance. I think it's something that will actually make it harder for him to deal with, which is quietly everybody's losing confidence in JD. And when people lose confidence and they look for alternatives, you've kind of already lost. There's no way to convince people that they should be confident in you, because trying to convince people of that reeks of lacking confidence, if that makes sense. So Vance has some personality, intelligence, and charisma issues that I simply don't think he's going to be able to overcome. Let me know what you think. Keir Starmer is resigning as UK Prime Minister after just 2 years. We will talk about it on the bonus show. A Trump-backed populist won a very tight Colombian presidential vote, sparking protests. We will talk about that on the bonus show. And the new Air Force One, gifted with no expectation of anything from Qatar, has arrived at Joint Base Andrews. And Trump recently said that the previous Air Force One is in mint condition. So why do you need a new one? It's all very weird. It's all very corrupt. All of those stories and more on today's bonus show. Sign up at joinpakman.com. Get instant access. I'll see you then. And remember, the pre-order campaign for my new book starts today. Go to davidpakman.com/attention. You can read about how to get signed copies. Amazon, Barnes & Noble audiobook. It is all there. Appreciate you watching. Stick around for this next video. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you actually see our uploads. You can also catch the full podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.